all of us to exercise patience. If you have any questions, just jot it down. If you have any challenges, we would like to make any clarification, just notice down and let's all pay attention and be patient to go through the training. It's an easy process. It's an easy process that you can go through. I personally had experience during my master to submit my work through the system. It's one of the easy process that you can submit your work and graduate peacefully. But if you don't understand it, you will have a lot of issue and complain back and forth. So I believe that this training will be of the best interest for all of us so that at least going through this training, we all assist each and our colleagues, our classmates, and our friends to also go through. We cannot reach everybody at the same time. So as we go through, let's also take opportunity to learn and teach others. Together with the e-learning, the recording will be available and to be uploaded to the appropriate website so that you can access it and refer to it if you have any challenge to go through. So thank you for joining, and I wish you all the best as you go through. And once again, thank to organizers, graduate school, and e-learning, especially Dr. Martin as well, as he prepared to take us through this training. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, hardworking President Grassak. We understand that a good number of people will still want to join. We've hit 1,000. So what we're doing is that we would be also streaming it on YouTube. So those who miss joining the Zoom link now can switch and you will still have access to it on YouTube. We will share the link with the Grassak president who can float it on your platforms anytime soon. So concurrently, you can either join here as on Zoom or you can have the same feed from YouTube. All right. So having done all this, we want to quickly switch and have our dear facilitator, Dr. Henry Martin. He has been, as I've indicated, part of the brains that have developed this, and it has really come in to help. Just keep focused and get educated as we run with it. Dr. Martin, please take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. And thank you very much, President, for this opportunity. So thank you all once again for making time to join this training. My name is Dr. Henry Martin, and I'm just taking you through the Thesis Deposition Management System. Okay, so these are the outlines that I'm going to take you through to resolve any issues that you have and also to discuss some of the structures that graduate school has. So I just start with the structure of graduate school. We have master student and then we have PhD students. The master students are composed of all students that are having or undertaking Master of Science or Master of Philosophy or Master of Technology or Master of Architecture and so on and so forth. All together is what I have just, or it is in the graduate manual as master students. Now, this is the framework for which graduate school operates. As a student, whether a PhD student or a master student, the level that it moves to, see, you have your supervisor or a co-supervisor. And so the set is being divided into three different segments. You can see the section which is the local environment, and then the section which is the departmental level, and then the school or the university. The local environment, so to speak, that when you have any issue or when you are undertaking your master's program or PhD program, you have your supervisor and co-supervisor as, so to speak, your academic mentors, or so to speak, your academic parents, if you want to call it that way, to help you or to assist you or to guide you in whatsoever you wish to do. And just as the Grassak president also said, um, in that environment, you also have your peers or your colleagues for which you are undertaking this program with, even if not in the same department. And that is why the organization of Grassak even is there as an association. And so the local environment is an environment that you meet often, or you are always in touch with one another, so that you can all guide each other, so that your your degree, you will definitely be able to complete it successfully. And so that is the local environment. This is to say that your first point of call at any time when you have any issue is to speak to your colleagues, is to speak to your supervisors, is to speak to your co-supervisors or any other staffs. KNUST is said that for the programs you undertake, you have a thought course. And so in the thought course, there are lecturers also teaching you. You speak to your supervisor, you speak to your peers, you still do not come to understand the dynamics of your graduate work or so ever. The staffs that taught you, the professors that taught you are also available to assist you in any of the situations you may encounter. And that is the local environment. This then moves to the departmental level, where you have the graduate coordinator for your program, the head of department for the department, and then the department secretary. Most often, the department secretary is seated in the office, which is before the head of department. The coordinator, postgraduate coordinator or graduate coordinator is one who always liaises with you in all activities that you undertake. Sometimes sends you messages, sends you all the things that you are supposed to know about before undertaking it. Now, so from the level of your local environment, if they are unable to assist you or guide you in terms of any problem that you face, or in terms of any discussion, sometimes it's not even a problem. You just need to talk to someone about your graduate studies. You need to talk to someone for an advice. You can then move on to speak to your postgraduate coordinator or graduate coordinator or head of department to get clarification or to get the answers you so seek for. And the next level has to do with the School of Graduate Studies, which we have the dean, we have the board, we have the academic board, we have the secretary, and then finally the vice chancellor. And so this is the organogram or the framework for which graduate studies is is possible in KNUST. And so you can always speak to any of these channels, or you can move to any of these channels whenever you have issues or whenever you just need someone to talk to concerning your, your graduate studies you are pursuing. Now, in light of this, we then looks at how we have to undertake our research work. Now, before we undertake our research work, as I said earlier on, we have a first year third course for master's student, MPhil, or PhD. Some PhD have two. So dependent on your area of specialization or dependent on your program and the way your course has been accredited by GTech, you have a third course, whether it's first year or first and second year. And so the requirement is such that everyone is supposed to attend all courses. That is, if you are taking a third course. For masters and MPhil, usually it's just the first year. For PhD, sometimes it's first year or 2 years. Secondly, you are supposed to write an exams and pass all those taught courses. Then we have the third one. When you pass all those taught courses, before you start your thesis work, you should have obtained a CW of 50, 55 and above. And so whenever you have not fulfilled these criteria, it is very difficult for you to start your thesis. Now, one may say that, well, we start our thesis all this while ago. Yes, that may be true. But for you to be able to come to the department board and go to graduate school and say that you are ready to submit your work, these three things or these three requirements are the first things that you'll be asked of before you even be listened to or before someone can advise you on how to proceed. Because if you have not finished your third course, then one will say you were not supposed to even start your thesis at all. If you have not passed, one will say you are not supposed to even start your thesis at all. If you don't have your CWA 55 or 55 and above, one will say you are not supposed to have even started. You can complete, but then nothing still would have been able to, no one can do anything about that until the 55 and above is certain. Now, then we come to requirements before submitting the thesis. So assuming all these three requirements has been checked, and so that should mean that you are done with your first year. For those doing MSc, that is IDL, I can put it that means that you are done with your first semester and second semester course. Now that is, you are done with first year, first semester, and then second semester course. And so you are doing your thesis. For those doing MPhil and PhD, you are done with first year third courses and you have all your results, you have your CW intact. That's the department is supposed to assign you with a supervisor. A supervisor, someone who is going to look at the thesis or the project that you want to undertake, for which reason you'll be awarded the Master of Science or the Master of Philosophy. That is your research work or project work. And when the assignment is done, and normally the assignment is done by the department board, and so the collection of all the professors or the faculty members sit together at the department, and then they decide that this student, this is the professor or lecturer we would like to mentor this student because this student wants to specialize in this specific field. And this professor or lecturer we think has the expertise, for which reason he has the ability to guide the student. And now when the assignment is done by the department board, there's a requirement that before you start your research work, the department should sit down and assess the topic and the work you want to do for them to deem fit that really, really, if you are taking the thesis for 3 months, really you can be able to complete it in 3 months. If the thesis is for 1 year, you have what it takes. That is to say, if you need some equipment, you need certain things to do, you have what it takes to complete it for 1 year. If it's a PhD and you are undertaking, you have what it takes to complete it for the 3-year duration or the 4-year duration you have. That is why you do the synopsis presentation for the board again to approve of it. Then the candidate now starts the research work or the candidate now starts his or her thesis. When you start your thesis, you then meet your supervisor from time to time to guide you. Again, the word I'm using here is guide. I'm using it carefully. The supervisor is guiding you to do your work because it is your thesis. Now, when you meet for the duration, if it is master of science, that is those doing the IDL and they are doing MSc, and they have to do it for about 3 months or 4 months. When that duration is done and your supervisor thinks that, well, the problem statement and the objectives that you set for yourselves, you've been able to meet all of them. If it is MPhil and it is PhD as well, the supervisor assesses it and comes to a conclusion that, yes, we have done a good job. Then the supervisor gives you the approval that, well, your work is done, put all together. Some makes you put it together from time to time in terms of the chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And then before you get to the 4th month, that's depending on how you work hard. You go to 4th month, if it is MPhil, the final year, if it's PhD and so on and so forth. Then they can say that put the write-up together and then go and submit it into the system. Now, when this confirmation comes, then now one will go and submit the thesis. And so this is the general requirement that is meant for everyone to go through in terms of thesis submission. Just to go back a bit, I may want to go into the background of our traditional thesis management system. Some way back in about 9 years ago, and about 5 years ago, this is the process we follow in submitting our thesis in the system until we all embrace that there is a need to come together and develop a system which is going to be automatic or is going to be an electronic system to assist us in having to process or manage the graduate program. And so some years back, what was done is that after you have completed all the processes that I enlisted earlier, and the supervisor approves of your work, you first of all will have to go and bind them. You have to go and print the hard copy. You have to print it depending on your degree. If you are doing MSc, you have to print 2. If you are doing MPhil, you have to print 3. If you are doing PhD, you have to print 5. And so you print all the hard copy and bind it as is shown in the picture here. And then afterwards, you carry them to your supervisor's office and meet. Of course, you need an appointment. You meet with your supervisor for your supervisor to sign on the hard copy to show that really he or she approves or agrees that your problem statement and objectives, you have really completed the work. When you are done, you take the hard copies to your HOD's office, that's the head of department office, and submit it to the head of department. The head of department then signs on it and write a letter and then keep it in the office to get most of the students and sends it to the School of Graduate Studies. Now, this gets to School of Graduate Studies. The letter then contains all the examiners that are going to examine the work. And that is why you printed 2, 3, or 5. It's going to be distributed to all of these examiners. School of Graduate Studies then put it together, and then with the aid of a courier service or SMS or EMS or Ghana Post, sends these documents to the various examiners, internal, external, those who are in KNUST and those who are outside KNUST or outside of the country. They send it to them to their various departments or their various universities. Now, after that, the graduate school has a timeline for which the reports are supposed to come, depending again on your degree. So the examiners are supposed to read your work, assess you, and then write a report, and then send the report back to the HOD or the graduate school. Upon receiving the report, they also send back the hard copy that was sent them via the courier service to the graduate studies or the HOD. Now, upon receiving all the reports from all the examiners, that is, if you are having 2 examiners, all reports have to come. If you're having 3, all reports have to come. And 5, all reports have to come. When all the reports are in, then the HOD will now schedule for your viva or the oral presentation for you to come and defend your work. So in consultation with the examiners to find out their available days or dates, he then schedule a meeting, schedule the viva with the School of Graduate Studies, and this is made possible. Then the students now prepare accordingly and come and give or come and present or come and defend the work he or she has undertaken. After that, when the viva is done, these books or these printed hard copies, when it went to the examiners, they may have done some corrections, could be grammatical errors, could be the bibliography, could be how you wrote your abstract. So many other things are possible. Now, this report, in terms of the feedback they have given, is handed over to the student and the internal examiner. That is the word independent assessor. So the student and then the independent assessor, who is supposed to supervise. And so now the independent assessor is acting as a supervisor to check that the students really have done all the correction that the two examiners or three examiners or five examiners have really put together in the book that they receive. If that is done, and the internal examiner approves that yes, really you have done all the correction that is needed by you, you then go ahead to print this hard copy as it's been designed here. Again, you print about 3 or 5 copies. Your supervisor is supposed to keep one. The student yourself, you are supposed to keep one. The department is also supposed to keep one. The college is also supposed to keep one. And then School of Graduate Studies is also supposed to keep one. These copies are placed in terms of the college, it goes to the college library. In terms of the department also have a library, and then the supervisor and the students. So this document now, first you send to your supervisor to sign on it as a supervisor who has guided you or has assisted you to undertake the research work. Then after, we had a hard copy for which the internal examiner was signed to show that really he approves of the correction that you have done, and you have done it all. Then the HOD who receives this books and CD from you will also sign on it as the HOD at that time when you completed the thesis. This process serves as an evidence to speak that, yes, the student attended the university and went through the required process or the standard process accredited by GTech, and for which matter he deserved the degree that will be awarded to him or her. When this is done, the HOD then takes the books and distributes it to, as I said, the college, the department, and the School of Graduate Studies. The School of Graduate Studies receives this book and then also check in terms of school fees and any other things for clearance to clear the student for graduation. And that is when now the graduation list is being released for students to go and pay their graduation fee and then graduate. So this process is just to serve as the background for which thesis management, the body School of Graduate Studies, has been going through for the past 5 years and for the past a long time to say or to speak. Now, with the number of students, with the number of graduate students that the university has been receiving, and also this process, we all can agree to the fact that there is the need for an automation or an electronic way of dealing with this process, especially as a science and technology university in Ghana, and uh, aiming to be number one in Africa and in the world, as to speak. And so the management, some time ago, decided that, well, then it is important that something is done to assist in the process. And one will say that yes, there was a lot of disadvantage that the traditional system has in terms of the cost of printing, the cost of moving from one location to another, um, the cost of the examiners even having to receive your thesis when it is sent to them. Some books can go to the examiner is out of town. There's no way he will be able to access it until he comes back to his office and see the book. I mean, there are so many disadvantages that one may come out in terms of the traditional way of the thesis management system. So this system then came to life, as I said, about 7 years ago. And 5 years ago, that was when it was really enforced. And I remember we had some training at the graduate school for PhD students. And then later we went to meet the students, the staff as well to have training on it. Then after there was the development of videos and then guidelines to aid students to submit their work. Now, with this background, I just want to delve into the system so that then we follow that same process that I have outlined for which we manage the system. But this time around, with a system to automate or with a system to aid in having to receive or having to submit our document within a split of a second or within a time t. And so, first of all, to get into the system, which I'm just showing the interface here, we have the link, which is for the student. And again, because I'm dealing with the training for the student now, the management system that I'm going to discuss today is purely for the student. In instances where staff comes in, I'll prompt you what or why the staff is coming in. But it is still following the same traditional format as I explained earlier. And so for a graduate student to access the thesis system, he or she, of course, has his or her credentials because he's registered as a graduate student. And so he has his username, he has his password, he has his student number. And so when he visits the thesis.knust.edu.gh, this is the interface that will pop up. And when the interface popped up, the student then now key his or her username at this place, the student number at the second level, and then the password at the third level. Then after, the student then clicks on the login as is indicated here to log into the platform. Now, when the students click into it, the dashboard then opens. And this is what you see. When the dashboard opens, you have the menu, you have here as a greeting, and then you have the profile icon. Now, this is the first instance that we may have an issue. For example, a student may log in, and when the students log in, it's unable to log in. Now, the system is designed that even though it is not a human, because of how automation is, it tends to give feedback. And so everything that one does on the system, there's a feedback that it gives to the student or it gives to the staff or it gives to whoever is trying to log into the system or whoever is using the system. Now, when one tries to log into the system or clicks the login and he gets this message, invalid login details. please contact support, so on and so forth. That means that your credentials, whether it's the password, whether it is the username or student number, one of it is wrong. Hence, you need to reset your password. So let me take it again. A student then visits this platform by entering the thesis.knust.edu.gh. Then he visits the interface and key in the username, the student number, and the password. After which he clicks on the login to open the interface, which is the dashboard. Some way, somehow, is unable to open the dashboard, which is this site. But then, because it's an automation and it gives the feedback, the system then throws the information as in what it is happening. And so a typical scenario is that invalid login details. That is to say that your credential is not correct. And so the solution to that is for you to reset your password. I'll take you through that shortly. Now, when you keep on trying to use the same password or even a different password, which is still wrong, the system will keep giving you that information until you get to about the fifth time, and then your account, it tells you that user account has been suspended. Again, the solution is to reset your password. When the student still keeps trying and get to the sixth time, now the system then locks and tells you that user account has been locked. Now, this then gives two things that one needs to do. First of all, reset the password. And secondly, unlock your user account. Unlock the user account. So these are the three possible scenarios that one may encounter in having to log in to the system and seeing the dashboard. Now, how do we solve this? The first one has to do with the reset of password. Now, if you are on campus, that is to say, for regular students, which you are supposed to be on campus from Monday to Friday, you can walk into your college IT to help you reset your password. If the college IT is unable to help you reset your password, you can just visit the UITS. Down there, the support team is there to also help you reset your password. Now, if you don't want to visit any of these two bodies or office that I've mentioned, you can reset your password by yourself by entering this link, id.knust.edu.gh. And so for most people that are not on campus, especially the ideal student, if you want to reset your password, you can just go to id.knust.edu.gh. It will bring you to an interface like this, and then you click on the login, and then it will bring you on this second interface. Now, this side, you click on the forget password. When you do that, it will take you to this interface. Now, when you are there, you see there's a category. The category is either the staff or the students. And so as a student, you change the category to student. When you change the category to student, the next Instead of it being staff ID, now becomes a student ID. And then you enter your student number there, and then you click on submit. When you click on submit, it sends you an email. Now, the email it sends to the email that you gave to the university when you were applying as a student. Please let me stress this part again. It sends you an email, and the email it sends it to the email you provided to the university when you were applying as a student. So that is your personal mail, if I should put it so, not your official mail as a Kia University student, your personal email. And so then you can go to your personal email, click on that link, and then it will take you to where you can reset your password to the characters that it deems fit. And that is how to reset your password. Now, as I said earlier, just to recap, this means that you have three options in having to reset your password if you are logging into the system and you get invalid login and you still proceed to get suspended account or login account. Now, the three main options. One is as a regular student or as any student close to KNUST, you can just go to your college IT office to assist you to reset your password. Option two, you can move to the UITS building. There's a support team down there at the basement to assist you to reset your password. Option three is for you to visit id.knust.edu.gh and you can reset your password by your own self and continue the process. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when the system locks you out, it means that you need to reset your password and also unlock the thesis management system. And so I'll move to the part where you need to unlock the thesis management system, and that is the unlock count. The interface of the system, just beside the login and the clear, you have account locked, unlock, as it's shown here in this circular red path here. So you have to click on that path to unlock your account when your account is locked after trying for about 6 times. Now, when you do that, when you click on the account unlock, this page here opens for you to enter your username. Now, note, if your username was incorrect, then of course the username you enter here will not work. And so that is why I mentioned that you reset your password and then you unlock. Because it is due to the password or the credential error. And that is why you first of all got the system unlocked. Sometimes you wouldn't be the one because for some reason, someone may have your username and is trying to log in and been trying several passwords and it didn't work. And so you slept, you woke up one morning, you came to sit down, and then when you try to log in, say the system has your user account is locked. If you are sure of that, for what I advise is that the best way to check whether really your password is correct is to log in into your official email, the official email that the university has given to you. So that is to say that you visit the email, the KNUST email for students, use your username and use your password, and then log in into the email, that's the Microsoft email. If you are able to log in there, that means that, well, someone came to play along with your username. That's an assumption though, and got the system locked. And so it means that what you can just do is just to unlock your user account for the thesis management system, and you are fine. Okay. But if you were the same one, and again, you are unsure of yourself, whether the username and password you are using is right, then the best option for you is to reset your password and then now come and unlock. So let me come back again in terms of continuing with the unlock. So when you click on the unlock account, it brings you to this interface here, or the pop-up here, and then you enter your username. When you enter your username, the unlock account will now be active or will be enabled. And then you can click on the unlock account. When you do that, it automatically sends you an SMS. Now, again, this is where a lot of people have issues with. Now, the SMS is sending to you, is sending to the number that you supply to the university when you were applying as a student. The number in the database of the university. And so if you have changed your number in the course of the year or in the course of the month, the university doesn't have that. And so the OTP that is sent to that number. And so it is for you again to ensure or to know that the phone you are using or the phone number you are using is the same number you supplied to the university when you were applying to be a student. Because that is the only number the university has in its database. So if you supplied two or you supplied one, the number that the university has in its database is what it sends the OTP to. And so it sends the OTP, and then you key in the OTP. Then remember, if you have reset the password, it means that you can key in your username here, key in the password here, and unlock. If you haven't reset the password and you are sure that it's the same password, and you have checked that in the sense that you have opened your email account, the official KNUST email, and it's open, then of course, you can enter those credentials in place of the username and password together with the OTP, and you can unlock. Now, there are two, there are two things or two scenarios that may occur here. Again, because it's an automation, the system always gives you feedback. And so please, I'll entreat everyone to be reading the feedback that is being given, because that is the information to know what to do. And so many a times, someone says that he's not able to do something, and you say, what is the system telling you? And he says he doesn't know. But when you are not able to give what the system is telling you, or you are not able to read, or you didn't read to know what the system is telling you, one, you cannot help yourself. Two, no one can be able to guide you in having to find solution to the problem, because it is only the system who knew what you were doing and so gave you the problem that you have and the solution to which you need to provide. And so in instances, sometimes the OTP keeps long, or one delay in having to type in the OTP. Then when you click on unlock, tells you, the system will say, the OTP has expired. Now, when the OTP has expired, it means that you just have to get another OTP. And so you just go back to the process and again click on account and log and then enter your username, and then it will send you an SMS for you to have the OTP. And so when the system says it has expired, it means you just need to go and get another OTP in the same process. When it says that authentication failed, kindly resolve your login issue before attempting again. So this means that, as I said earlier on, maybe you trust yourself that your credentials were correct and you went to click on the unlock and you got the OTP. You came to enter. But when you enter the credential, the system then saw that really they are not correct. And so it's telling you that kindly resolve your login issue. This means that you have to go and reset your password with the process that I mentioned in three options. Get to the college IT, get to the UITS, or better still, go to id.knust.edu.gh and follow the process to reset your password. Now, this is the process, or this is what one may go through if he or she is unable to keep the password, or he or she forgets the password, or he or she gets the system locked up. Now, if all of this, you did not have any issue and your password was right at the first instance, or you had issue and you were able to resolve it with all the process I have mentioned, then voila, you can be able to log into the system. And this is the dashboard. And this is the dashboard. Now, the dashboard here, as I showed earlier, we have on my left-hand side, again, which is going to be probably your right-hand side, the horizontal dashes here, which is the menu. Beneath it is the greetings. And then the system has been divided into two rows and then 4 columns. The first one here is the payment. And so mostly you receive the extension fee or the amount you need to pay the university at this section. Now, the other section that is very active, or that we use mostly, is the thesis status. That is to say, how the process that you have undergone or what you have done so far shows you just beneath the payment. Now, one of the places that I always also tell students to watch out or look at is the upcoming event or the announcement. Upcoming event or the announcement. These two sites are the places where School of Graduate Studies or KNUST are likely to be posting things for the students, for graduate students to see and to know and take advantage of, or to apply accordingly. And so always watch out for the upcoming event or announcements from the School of Graduate Studies or from KNUST. And those are the three main places that, for me, I think it's very important for all graduate students to look up to. Now, when you open into the dashboard or you log in into the system and you see the dashboard, probably you are about submitting your thesis. And now, again, let me take you through the process or what the requirement by a graduate school for you to be able to submit thesis. Now, note that when these requirements are not met, you cannot submit your thesis. let me take it again. Kindly note that when these requirements, in fact, when one of these requirements has not been met, it is very, it's not possible for you to submit your thesis. So one of the main requirements is that you have completed all your taught courses. Again, I'm using taught courses here because for some, it is just first and second semester, sorry. For some, it's just 1 year. For some, it's 2 years, dependent on your degree and dependent on your program or the accreditation document that your department submitted for GTech to approve. So the first one is that you have to complete all your taught courses. The second one is that you have to pass all taught courses. Now, this complete and passed all taught courses are the courses you registered by yourself. And so it means that you went into contract with the university that this is the course you want to do, and so you are taking them. And so it is mandatory that you have to pass them. Now, after passing all these taught courses or completing all these taught courses, the university require that your CWA is 55 or above. So you have a CWA of 55 and above. The other thing is that it's for some of you, it means that you are done with a first year course. And so you are moving into your second year, that's MPhil. Or you are moving into second year, third year, that's PhD, or even fourth year PhD. This means that you are also required to register for the subsequent years. Now, one will ask, what are you registering for? So, because for KNUST, if you are doing MPhil, it's 2 years. And for most of, I'm using the word most because I've not seen every department or every program's accreditation document. But for most of the courses or programs in KNUST, your second year is supposed to be your thesis work. That is research. If it's a PhD, it means your second year and then third year, and for some people, fourth year, again, depending on your program. And so, in fact, I'll entreat everyone to get their programs that has been accredited or to see or to know their course structure or syllabus. Now, that means that you have to be registered for thesis, because that is what you are doing at that specific year. And so you see the exams officer of your department or your program to register you for what we have as in the system, School of Graduate Studies thesis. All exams officer are aware of this. And so in your second year as an MPhil student, you need to register for thesis. For some of you, your programs are 15 months or 18 months. That means that it is the first year and then some bit of the second year. Now, because it's in the second year, it will also require you to do registration. And so again, you need to do the registration or see the exams officer you know appropriately to register you for School of Graduate Studies thesis, because you are done with all your taught courses, you've passed all your taught courses, and you have your CWA of 55 or above. And the current year, that is academic year you are within now, is just to complete your thesis. And so you need to do that registration. Now, these four main things I have mentioned, as I said, is a requirement that the system demands you to fulfill before you can be able to submit. In addition to this, you are also supposed to fulfill the payment of your school fees. Because in first year, when you were coming to school, you paid your school fees. So when you're done with the first year and going to the second year, you also pay your school fees. When you are done with your thesis and you are going to submit, it means you are done with the second year. So the second year fees is also supposed to be paid. In some instances, whether ideal or regular, sometimes you have been given the opportunity that you pay 50% and then you start, or you pay 70% and you start. If it is even so, it means that by the time you complete the second year, that 50% that you were given, or that 70% that you were given before you start, is way long past. And so you are supposed to have completed and paid the full amount. And so the system again will be requiring that you have paid the full amount. So that is the fifth one, which is actually required before you submit. Now, as I showed you earlier, again, before you start your thesis, you need a supervisor. You need someone to guide you to the research you want to do. Someone with that expertise to guide you. Someone that when you are going astray can give you an advice so you take the right path. And so if you are going to submit your thesis and you don't have a supervisor, then it means that how did you do the work? Or the question is, how did you do the work? And so again, the system will require that you have a supervisor. And this, as I mentioned earlier on, it is done at the departmental board at the beginning of your second year. In terms of those who are doing the 1 year or the 15 months or the 18 months, it means that this is done either at the beginning of your second semester or at the midpoint of your second semester. Your supervisors are being assigned to you. And so the postgraduate coordinator or the HOD assigns it in the system so that then the system now recognize this. And so you can see here that these two are supposed to be done by officers of the university. And so that is why I have just put them in brackets. This is to say that assuming it has not been done, assuming again, let me use the word assuming, it has not been done, it is for you to just prompt the appropriate office. And that is why I showed you the structure. You have the local, you have the departmental, before you have the graduate school. These two places again look at the departmental level. And so you can, and I believe that each and every graduate student knows their exams officers and postgraduate coordinators. Because some way, somehow, they are the people that register you, or they will register you for your taught courses. They are the people that may organize the program for you to start. And sometimes they also teach you in your class. And so these are the same people that also forms your local environment that you can always approach freely and then speak to them to either register you the School of Graduate Thesis or assign you your supervisor in the system. Now, the next one is that before you can submit, it means that you have completed your thesis, obviously. Because without that, one may not even try to submit. The other thing is that before you try to submit, it means that your supervisor has approved of the work that you have done and written them in the book, whether PDF or Word document that you sent to him, and you have done all corrections, and he has asked you to submit in the portal. And so this, in addition to the fees, are the very crucial things that one needs before going to the system to submit the thesis. Now, this is for a student who are termed as the extension student or the grace period student. Now, this student is a student who has elapsed the number of years that the program was meant for, or the number of period. And so for MSc, ideal, maybe it is 1 year, or it is 12 months, or it is 15 months, or it is 18 months. Some way, somehow, you were unable to finish, maybe because of taught courses, or maybe because of your CWE, or maybe because of your research. You couldn't make it up to the accredited 15 months, 18 months, or 2 years, which is MPhil, or 3 years, which is PhD, or 4 years, which is PhD. I believe you all know the requirement for the duration of your study. Now, if you are unable to finish within that specific period, you are what we call a student who is on grace period, or you are extension, you are on an extension, because with 2 years you couldn't finish. So your supervisor, you and your supervisor thinks that when you are given maybe 1 month in addition or 2 months in addition, you can be able to complete it. And so you are on grace period. Now, for grace period students, again, that will mean that maybe you have completed or you haven't. But let me go through again to say that for grace period students, the same rules that I mentioned earlier also apply, in the sense that you are supposed to complete all your taught courses, or you have completed. You are supposed to pass all your taught courses, or you have. You are supposed to have obtained a CW of 55 or above. You are supposed to have registered for your final academic year. You are supposed to have been assigned your supervisor. Now, the additional thing that the grace period student is now required to do is that since your second year, or in terms of PhD, your third or fourth year, you couldn't finish, which is supposed to be the requirement for you to have finished and graduated, you now have to register for grace period, because it is registration, excuse me, it is registration that deems you fit as a student, or it is registration that notice you as a student, or that gives you the legal entity, a student. When you haven't registered in the university, then it means that you are not undertaking anything in terms of the entity name student. And so, since your time of study or program is 2 years and it has elapsed, it is for you to ask the university that you need some grace period, for which, of course, you will be still able to finish your course. And so you should be granted that. Now, this is done by the exams officer. The exams officer. So sorry, I'll take all the questions. So please note them down. Kindly note them down for me. I'll take them when I'm done. I'll take all questions when I'm done. So you are supposed to note or notify the exams officer to register you for grace period. To register you for grace period. Now, In that same registration for grace period, as you and your supervisor have been working for all this time, and you have come to that realization that you will not be able to complete the program or the thesis within the 2 years that is scheduled by the program, or within the 3 years that is scheduled by the program, the supervisor is supposed to submit a progress report on your behalf, inform management how far you have come with your work. And so it means that when you are given that additional academic year, that is additional 1 year, you can be able to complete the program or the thesis and be awarded accordingly. So the supervisor is supposed to submit a progress report on your behalf, which again, the supervisor is aware and knows how to do it in the system. Now, when the supervisor is done with the progress report and it goes through management, that is the head of department and graduate school, and it's been approved, then you, the student, now goes to request for an extension in the system, because the program says you should finish 2 years. Now you know that you can't finish, you and your supervisor, you are the only two people who are aware that you can't finish. And so you are going to the university. It's more like a contract. Your contract has ended. And so you are going to tell the university that kindly extend my contract for me in the next academic year for me to finish. And that is where you are doing the progress report and the extension request. Now, this extension request would be approved by your supervisor supporting the idea, the HOD, and graduate school. And then you pay an extension fee. Again, the extension fee here is just like you start the first year, you pay the school fees. You went to the second year, you pay the school fees. Now you want to go into a third year, so you need to pay a fees, or you need to pay fees. Now, the school or KNUST management decided that, well, in the payment, they don't want to charge you the full amount, but they will charge you 1/3 of your school fees. And so that 1/3 of your school fees is calculated and placed in your portal. And that is the part where I showed you about payment of fees. And so as soon as your extension request is approved by management of KNUST, it means that they are entering into another contract with you for another 1 year, or the another months that are left with you, or the academic year that is left with you. And so they submit to you the bill for that academic year that they have agreed to still work with you as a student so that you can complete. And so you see the bill on your portal, and then you go to any bank. I think you go to the Eco Bank, you go to GCB, you go to Ghana Commercial Bank, and then you just inform them that you are here to pay an extension fee into the School of Graduate Studies bank account. Let me take the banks again. I think GCB, Eco Bank, CBG, which one again? I think I have three now. Yeah. You go to those banks and then inform them that you are here to pay an extension fee into School of Graduate Studies bank account. They will see your name on the portal. They will see the amount that you are supposed to pay, and then you pay it in full. And so as you pay it, then it means that you are starting the additional academic year, which is the extension or the grace period that the university is giving to you. Now, let me say that this process of registration of grace period and submitting of progress report and extension is supposed to happen at the beginning of the academic year that you are starting in, or even at the end of the second year when you realized or you noticed that you are unable to complete the duration. And so that is a note that I want to point out to everyone. Let me take it again so that I think we all get the idea here. Just as you make an application to start, it's the same way when you are seeing, or you can envisage that you are going to need, or you will be unable to complete your work within the stipulated time, you ask for extension. And so you do that at the end of the second year or in the middle of the second year, once you and your supervisor can see that you will not be able to complete or graduate. And so your supervisor writes the progress report for you. You also write the extension, and then graduate school management, that's head of department and graduate school, approves of it. You get the bill, and then you pay for that specific academic year. Now, as I speak with you, I think the document for KNUST is that for MPhil, your extension is just for 1 year. And so if you are doing MPhil with 2 years, your extension to complete the work is 1 year. So you only have 1 year extension. 1 year extension. Now, some way, somehow, I know some of you have done 2 or 3 or 4 years, but I believe management at the appropriate time will come and then speak to those issues. But for now, you still apply for the progress report and the extension, and the duration that you have spent in the school will be calculated and sent into your portal, and you pay for that money, then you can be able to submit. And then obviously the completion of thesis and then approval of the supervisor of your thesis to now go and submit in the system. So we move to submission of the thesis in the system. Now, the submission follows the following processes. The dashboard, you go to click on the 3 horizontal dashes I mentioned earlier, which is the menu. You get a drop down, or it opens up. You move to thesis deposition as shown here in red. You click on the menu thesis deposition. It gives you a drop down. You have a drop down of oral examination, submission, and then you click on that one as well, the submission check and update of submission. Now, when you click on that, it now brings you to submit, check, or update submission. And now you are about to submit your thesis. Now, submitting of the thesis, you see on the right-hand side, you see this plus sign there, which I have circled here. You click on it, that is to say you are creating the thesis for you to submit. So you click on that. And then when you click on that, it brings up this pop-up for you to read in terms of declaration. It's just like what we, when we are writing our thesis in the book, we are declaring that we don't have any falsehood and so on and so forth. And so you check the box, and then when you check the box, you scroll down this same wizard, and then you click on next. When you click on next, now this part is another part where there could be certain message popping up. based on the requirement that I mentioned earlier on. Now, when you click on the add sign and it brings you to this box, for some of you, you are unable to even come here because this stage checks all the requirements I mentioned earlier. And so some may get a feedback. As I said, because of the automation process, the system speaks to each and everyone that is on the system or they are undertaking any process in the system. And so it is for us as users of the system to read every message carefully and act upon the message accordingly. Please let me take this place again. This is very, very important to me. The system, because of the automation nature, has the ability to give each user feedback for whichever task the user is performing. And so if you are performing a task and you have not obeyed any of the requirements, the system prompts you or informs you to obey those requirements before you can be able to move on. And so I entreat every one of us to do well, to read everything that the system gives to him or her. And so these are some of the message. When you click on the ad and then it pop-ups, it appears you have not completed your registration of the semester. You must satisfy all registration requirements for 2025 academic year before taking part in the submission process. And so, as I said about registration, you need to be registered. So you are doing an MPhil, it's a 2-year program. You finish your third course, you have your CWA, you don't owe fees, but you haven't done your registration in the second year, which is the School of Graduate Studies thesis. So the thesis, the system prompts you. So you have to prompt the exams officer of your registration for that specific academic year, which is if the MPhil, it is your second year. And so you have to register for the thesis. If it's a PhD, whether your second year, third year, or fourth year, depending on your program or your department accreditation. If a master student at MSc and you are doing 18 months or doing 15 months, because you are in another academic year, it means that you need to be registered for the thesis. And so you have to prompt your exams officer. Another message can be thesis submission process halted. You are currently in the grace period of your program. Kindly apply for extension. Well, it could be that as your exams officer noted that you were unable to complete your 1 year or complete your 2 years or complete your 3 or 4 years that the program required, your exams officer went ahead to register you for the grace period in the system. Now he or she has registered you for the grace period in the system. But unfortunately, you and your supervisor have not done the progress report and then subsequently your extension. And so now the system is prompting you that you are in grace period. That is to say that yes, the exams officer has registered you, but you, the person that you are in grace period, you have not gone ahead to apply for your extension. And so the system cannot see it. And so it's prompting you to go and do it so that you can now go ahead and submit your thesis. There are so many instances, as I mentioned, all the 8 or 5 things that I mentioned, if you forget any one of them, if you forget more than 2 or more than 3, they will keep coming till you resolve it completely because it is a requirement. You need to fulfill all those requirements before you can go ahead to submit. And the last one I have here is your request for extension has not been approved. Current state is invoiced awaiting payment. And so you see, this is the instance that all the process, he has done the grace period, he has done the payment, progress report has gone ahead, he has been billed, but the payment has not been done, and he or she cannot submit. So you need to do the payment for the extension before you can submit. And so I will entreat each and every one of us to pay attention critically to the message the system gives, because the system is speaking to us on the issues we are facing, for which is a requirement and mandatory fulfillment by the KNUST rules and regulations of graduate studies. Now, assuming that you you want to do the extension and you do not even know the process, as I said, for in the past 4 or 5 years ago, when this was done, we did some recording videos, and then the handout or the guide for you to follow. And so this here is a video on how to do your extension request by how a student does his or extension request. And so I entreat all of you to go to the YouTube platform to watch it, especially the students who are on extension or grace period and need to request for the extension, or the students who can see that they will not be able to complete the year, or were not able to complete the year, to act now, get their exams officers to place them in the grace period, talk to their supervisors to write the progress report for them, and for them to also apply for the extension request. Now, when all of this is done, when this is done for an extension student or a grace period student, it is very easy for you to just go into the system and then submit. And so these are just the event or scenarios for which you will not be able to submit because you haven't fulfilled all requirements. I like to say that the process is a very simple and short one. If you have fulfilled all requirements, you do not have any issue, um, you do not have any extension, and you have extension, you have applied for it, you have paid all the this thing. It is very, very fast, if you ask me. Even if you have not done those process, this process I have narrated to you, which is done by individuals, you can use your phone. In fact, I forgot to mention that it is not just even the laptop, but your phone. And some of the screenshot I took, if you look at this, the first two on the top there are phones. And that is why it shows as a screenshot in that way. And so a lecturer can sit in his car, or can sit in his flight, or can be wherever he or she is and use the phone to do the work he or she is supposed to do. The same thing applies to the student. So all users can be able to use this system efficiently and easily. And so as I always say, that the system is designed for effective management of our thesis process, as I explained as the background. And so this process should not take anyone, if you ask me, more than 2 or 3 days to finish even all of this, if I'm using the word, if they have all of this to even do. But because this process, in the wisdom of the university, is not a process that is to be done in a day, but it's a process that is done within an academic year, or within a period for which one comes to school and then he stays in school for 4 months or so. It means that within all this period, you can get any of this process done. And so one of the issues is that many a times one may wait or one wants to wait to finish or to get the approval from his or her supervisor that go and submit before they take steps to undergo the requirement or to complete all the requirement that is done. And like I said, even if that is the case, if you ask me, they should not even take 2 or 3 days to finish. But that is not even the process that is supposed to be. You are supposed to do it as you are starting the academic year, so that when you are done, you just go into the system and submit. And then the other process in terms of the staff can also kick off. And so with the submission, you click on the declaration, you click on next, then you come to the place where you need to now upload your documents. You start with the submission type, and for the submission type, when you are doing your first submission, just as I explained in terms of the comb binding book, it is just thesis. And so you see it here, when you click on the drop down, you see Master of Philosophy thesis, resubmission, and final submission. The thesis is what we start with. That is the comb binding. The resubmission is when you submit your thesis and it goes to the examiners. That is the internal examiner and external examiners. And some way, somehow, you were not able to pass and you have failed your thesis, then you can do a resubmission. But if you don't fail your thesis and the thesis is passed and you go and do your viva and your internal, together with your internal, you make your necessary correction, then it means the next step of submission is the final submission. The next step is the final submission. Okay, so every first step or every submission has to start with thesis, Master of Philosophy thesis, or Master of Science thesis. The system is able to recognize whether you are doing MPhil or Master of Science or PhD because of your registration in the system. And so he knows, the system recognizes each person with what he or she is doing. And so this is just a sample. So when you choose your thesis, you enter your abstract, you enter your uh, the keywords, the similarity index, the similarity, which is the Turnitin. Now, the Turnitin is supposed to be done by your supervisor and given to you. And so every lecturer on KN University campus have access to the Turnitin. And so he or she runs the Turnitin for you. And then you can now put the score here and also submit the Turnitin report and then submit your thesis report. For some of the disciplines, like architecture and so on and so forth, that have so many drawings and other things that are not able to together with the thesis, that is where the additional file is being created for them to upload in. So they can upload those additional files there. And so this is what you see. It has been filled, the score and all of that. In terms of the upload of similarity and then index, whenever it's upload, you see that the upload can be done in terms of having to drag and drop or having to click and then you put it in there. And so those are the two processes that I outlined here: drag and drop, or you click in terms of browse to that specific file. And this is a typical example of drag and drop. And when you are able to upload, it tells you file has been uploaded. And this is the browse type. Okay. So Again, what I was trying to say is that when you upload, you see this, you see the name of your file there, and you see the name of the file showing. That is means that you have uploaded. And at the same time, when all fields have been filled correctly, have been filled rightly here, you see that the save and continue beneath here will be enabled or activated for you now to click on that. And then when you click on that, it says email sent successfully. Note that your supervisor will be notified after your submission. This then, you come to this page or this pop-up, and then you click on the done. Now, please let me say that this does not mean that you have submitted a thesis. This part says that you have deposited a thesis into the system. Now, I'm taking it again. When you upload and you save and continue and you are done, it means that you have deposited. You have deposited into the system. It's just like your email. You go to Gmail or go to Yahoo or whatsoever. You type your email and then you have not clicked send. You just type them there and then you can save it in the system. You haven't sent it. You have saved it. And so it is saved as a draft. Sometimes some emails give us the option where we put time on it so that when the time is due, it's submitted. Well, this system does not put time, but this system requires you yourself click on it to submit it by yourself. So this is the deposition, or this, if I'm to liken it to the email, is the draft that you have made and you have kept it in your email box as a draft. Okay, and so you receive a message or an SMS of that draft. Now, it is now for you to now go and submit. And I always say that one of the things all of us, every user, needs to pay attention in the system is what we have there as current state or current state. Now, the current state is the tracking process. And so it's just like we buy something from Amazon or from somewhere, and we are able to track what is happening. And so the system, in the wisdom of its design as automation, also tracks our thesis. And so when you begin the process in terms of depositing it into the system, this first part here is telling you that you have passed the similarity index. And now it is for you now to submit it into the system. If your similarity index is greater than the 20, which is required by KNUST and School of Graduate Studies, it will fail. And then it will also be difficult for you to now submit. And so the first step is, that is why your supervisor checks it and makes sure it is below the 20, and then now approves of you to also go and submit in the system. And so when you get here, now you have passed the similarity index, you are now required to now submit to your supervisor. And so in the submitting process to the supervisor, you now click on the submission, And now when you click on the submission that you have done, you will see that these icons will now pop up or will appear. And like I always say, I liken this thing to our emails that we use. For our emails, if you don't click a specific message, you are not expected to see some icons. And so you can liken the same to all of that. You click on that submission that you are doing, and then the icons will come up. The icon of you editing, the icon of you deleting, the icon of you submitting. And so now the golden arrow depicts the submission. The golden arrow depicts the submission. And so You can now click on the golden arrow if you think it is time for you to submit or you wish to submit. You click on the golden arrow. And when you click on the golden arrow, a pop-up may come to ask you whether you are sure that you really want to submit. And then if you are sure that you really want to submit, you click on that. Yes, you are sure you want to submit. Then it submits to your supervisor. Just like if it's an email, it will submit to the person you are submitting to. And then again, it gives you the response. It speaks to you what you have done. And so it tells you that you have submitted successfully, an email has been sent. In that same instance, you will see that the current state, that is the tracking, now will change to supervisor notified. Supervisor notified. And so when you see that supervisor notified, it means your supervisor has, in fact, at that instant, has gotten an SMS. At the same time, an email informing him that when he asks you to go and submit, you have actually gone to submit. If you did not ask of an approval to go and submit, it will inform him. Then there is a problem because he has not asked you to submit, you've gone to submit. He or she may go to check and may find out that, well, there are errors or there isn't an error. Then the supervisor may decide that because there is an error in the work, he will not approve of it. That is, he will not sign if you want to liken it to the old carrying of books. He will not sign it. And so he will send it back to you to go and update. And so when he sends back to you, the state will now change to update required. If he approves of it, then it goes to the HOD or the postgraduate coordinator to now assign the examiners. And so for wherever the examiners are, they can also receive it as quickly as possible to assess you. Now, these are the process for you to submit your thesis. When all of this submission is done, reports goes to the examiners and they also assess it. They get an SMS and so on and so forth. And HOD has scheduled a viva, which you will see on your oral exams portal when the scheduling of the viva is done to show you the date. Then you go ahead to do your viva or to do your oral presentation and you pass the oral presentation. Then you go into the system to download the reports from the examiners. And when you download the report from the examiners, then together with your internal examiner, he makes sure or he supervises you to make sure that you make all the changes that is required from the examiners. Then gives you the approval to now go and submit in the system. And so you go through to follow the same process. But this time around, because you have done the initial one, you click on the initial one before going to click on the plus sign. Let me take that place again because most people just go and create. Now, whilst in the beginning, there was no submission, so you just went ahead to click on the plus sign and create. With the final submission, it needs to see the initial one that you did earlier. So the first step for you when you visit the submission, manage the submission dashboard or visit the submit/check or update submission, the first thing you are required to do is to click on your initial submission. When you click on your initial submission, then you can go ahead and click on the plus sign. And with that process, when the pop-up window opens, it sees the initial fill-ins that you did. That is to say, your abstract, your keywords and all of that, your title and all of those that you key in. All of that comes because it's picking it from the initial one. Then you can change the submission type to Master of Philosophy Final Thesis or Doctor of Philosophy Final Thesis or the degree you are doing, but final thesis. And then if there were corrections that were made on your abstract or your title or whatsoever, you amend them in that space and then you go and click on save and continue. Sorry, you upload the corrected version and then also upload the new similarity report that you you got from your internal examiner. And then now you can click on the save and continue and then uh, deposit in and then now go and click on the final submission type and then click on the golden arrow. So these are the requirements that are needed of each and every one to complete the submission. And so this brings me to the end of today's training. It's been a very lengthy time. I think I'm almost 2 hours as I was giving. Unfortunately, we started around 3:40. Forgive us for that, but I have tried my best to finish at 5:20. So this is the end of my presentation or my tutorial with the thesis management system from KNUST by School of Graduate Studies, organized by e-learning and GrassApp. Thank you, everyone, and thank you once again for joining this. So I think I can already see some hands up, and so I may take the questions. I'll take the questions and then I'll answer them accordingly. Wow, there's a lot of hands up. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with the questions.
Doc, good evening.
Good evening.
Can I please go ahead with my question?
I think my moderator is, yeah, but you go ahead. I think my moderator will come soon, but go ahead, please.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much. That was a well calculated presentation with detailed explanations. My first question had to go with the extension of fees and the progress report. Clearly, it has from your presentation, I think you mostly hammered on when we enter into our grace period. And my problem has to do with this grace period that we enter. Some of the faults might not necessarily be from the students. You might have sent your thesis to your advisor through mail for weeks and you don't happen to get a response, you follow up day in, day out, and your supervisor might be busy with other stuffs, which we know we are not the only people they are taking care of. They have other people attending to. And this drags and delays how fast we can finish our thesis. Also, some of us are still using the traditional method. We are not sending our thesis through mail, but we still send it through post office to the graduate school before our supervisors pick them up, the manual hard copy, correct it, and send it back to us. So all these things, some way, somehow, contribute to the delay of our stated dates. I want to know, when it happens like that, uh, I know the blame always is being shifted on we, the students, but it might not necessarily be our fault. And also, with the extension fees, I might only need a week or two to complete my submission. But if I enter into the grace period and I'm being required to pay an amount of, I'm paying 1/3 of my old fees, then I think this is also going against this because I might just need a week or a month, not the whole academic year. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I think we all appreciate your question or your statement. One thing is that we've all been students before, so we all know and understand the dynamics. Um, yes, it's true. It's true that it might not be your fault. And like I said earlier, it's that is the reason for the system. And so for some of this delay in terms of the traditional way or having to uh, understand the process that a student has submitted, probably the draft and so on and so forth, and it has kept long, is the reason for why this automation system is created. I don't know whether you notice that in the system, there are dates that is showing up in there. Now, this is just the first leg or the first aspect of the system that is looking up to your final submission and so on and so forth. If you look at it carefully, there are other side where it even deals with the, the report, and that is why the progress report is there. And I believe that management will communicate accordingly how these reports are going to be taken into consideration from time to time before even getting a student into the the extension period, and that may help. So as I speak with you currently, the idea is dealing with all the backlogs that are from the traditional point of view or the traditional way of looking at the system. That is to say, 3 years ago till now. And then from this year onwards, management is looking at how the new intakes, they will find ways using the system to address this problem of having to submit a draft to a thesis, a supervisor, sorry, and the time is taken with the supervisor and so on and so forth. And also, in terms of the traditional way of submitting it, in terms of the book to graduate school, that will also be resolved when they come out to address the problem for the current students that have been admitted. But for those already who are in the system, uh, this is the way to try to assist you to get things done in the fastest possible way. And so, yes, we have passed through. Let's just do well, and then together, I believe management will find ways to incorporate this draft in the system so that the dates can be tracked, HODs, deans, provost, and so on and so forth will be able to see what the student or when the student is submitting and how long it's taking. And so it is not the fault of the student, so to speak. I don't know whether I've answered your question, but I believe I've done my best. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we go on with the questions, you can also type your question in the chat so that we will manage the time well. So if you have a similar question to what was just asked and it has been answered, then you can lower your hand. If you have a different question, you can also type it in the chat and then we pick the questions from there. So let's pick some questions from the chat and then we go back to the live question. So one of the questions is saying that concerning the registration by the exam officer for the second year, is it different from what is done on the student portal?
Yes. So, yeah, thank you. So for the student portal, the courses. So in first year, first semester, or first year, second semester, the courses are uploaded on the student portal, and then you go there to select and then register accordingly. In the second year, because you don't have a courses and it is just a thesis, you do not see any course there to register for unless the exams officer decides to mount a course there, which is the School of Graduate thesis that I'm talking about, for you to go and then register. So if the exams officer do not mount the School of Graduate Studies thesis for you to register there, and that is why the advice that I was given is that it's just inappropriate to just speak to the exams officer to register you for that course, and then that is fine.
All right, so we are taking Obed down. So Obed, your question. Unmute and then ask your question, Obed.
Okay, thank you very much. So my question is that at what point do we say that a student is in his grace period? Because for some of us who were admitted last year for 1 year MSc, this is the time that we are doing our thesis. But when you log into the system, we are being given the feedback that submission has been halted because we should apply for grace period or something. I don't know whether the grace period applies to us too, or at what point that is kicking, but that is where some of us are starting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Obed. So, well, this is dependent and it varies across the whole university. The dependency is on the duration for your program. Now, if you are doing an MSc, and it is 12 months, it means that if you start in January, you are ending in December. So if you are getting to October or November and you can see that you will not be able to finish and submit the thesis, then the coming year, January, you are in grace period. And so you should have started to apply for your grace period somewhere the October, November. Now, if you are doing an MPhil and your program is 2 years, and so you started 2023 January, and in 2 years, that means that 2024 January, you are in the second year. 2025 January, that is the third year. So it means that in the 2024, somewhere October, November, when you can see that you will not be able to finish, you have to prompt and then apply for your extension. And so this is the point that I can speak to in terms of the point that we can say one is in grace period. Thank you.
All right, so we'll take two questions for this round from the chat. Someone is saying when they click on the final submission button, the systems keep sending a notification that my supervisor is not assigned yet. And then the second one is the difference between thesis management system and then the Turnitin portal.
Okay, well noted. So as I said, that's a requirement. For the first one, your supervisor is supposed to be assigned by the postgraduate coordinator or your HOD before you can submit. And so this is supposed to be have done or was supposed to be have done when you are going to your second year. So the beginning of your second year, when you are doing your work, that's an MPhil, your supervisor was supposed to assign to you. If that was not done, you will just prompt your postgraduate coordinator or your HOD, and they will do that accordingly, and you can get your this thing to submit. Now, the Turnitin system is just to get a similarity score or the similarity index. The thesis management system is to manage all the processes for all research programs. And so from the point you start your research to the point you finish your thesis and you graduate is what the thesis management system is managing. And that's the difference between it and then the Turnitin system. Thank you.
All right, Florence. Florence, you are next.
Thank you, sir. Mine have to do with my personal experience with my supervisor, and it's a whole thesis on it too. You know, we completed in the classroom work in 2023 October. I did well in 2023 October 20th to submit something to my supervisor because a list came out and they assigned as supervisors. It took him 6 months. He never even responded. All effort to get him, he didn't. Then God so good. Last year, April, I went to campus. I got him through some intervention. He asked me to resubmit it. I did. And I have spent 1 year, 3 months with my supervisor, not a single critique. Then the thing who broke the camel back was that when I was trying to get his attention, the final word he told me is that I'm nowhere near graduation. Meanwhile, he has not given me any single critique. As I tell you now, I have finished with everything. Then he asked me to submit all to him. To date, 1 year, 3 months, no communication, nothing. You call him, he will tell you he's busy. Another time, he will tell you, he will call you back. Most of the time you call him, you will not even pick. So in this case, my question is, which student am I now? Am I in the grace period? Am I in the extension period? When should I go ahead and pay? For God so good, I complained to my supervisor, and just last week, he have assigned me a new, I complained to the HOD, just last week, he assigned me a new supervisor. To be fair with the new supervisor, he told me I am new. So to him, so you have to go through my work and understand him. So as it is now, I don't know even when I'm going to complete. So should I go ahead and pay for the extension fee, or which student am I now? Thank you.
Florence, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your submission. I think your submission is even an advice to all of us. And that speaks to the framework of the School of Graduate Studies that I began with. And so you see, with your challenge, you had a challenge with your supervisor. And over time, you resorted to the next level, which is the head of department. And God being so good, that has been resolved, and now you have a new supervisor. And that is why it is very important that we look at the framework and follow suit and follow as such. Okay, and so that is an advice to all of us that when we are unable to even get our supervisors, we can resolve to the next level, that is the coordinator or the HOD, to see the solutions to the work. And so you have found a solution, which is the being assigned a supervisor. Now, in your second leg of the work, now the HOD have assigned you a new supervisor, but your stay of the program has elapsed. And so for that matter, you are in the grace period. Your stay, as far as your stay of the program has elapsed, it has placed you in the grace period. So I will advise you that you see again the new supervisor and your HOD. And then in terms of the extension or grace period, you go through it smoothly. Do not wait to finish. And then now you have to be saying that you want to complete that whole process within a day and then get your work submit. Speak to them, let them advise you accordingly, and then go through the process of the extension and get your new supervisor to look at your work for you to submit accordingly. Thank you very much.
Okay. I think there are some questions that are similar. So let's take from the chat. They're asking, for example, examiner partly assigned. What does it mean? Then there's another one. Sorry, you cannot proceed further. The main supervisor has not been assigned. And yes, so I think that's for submission terminated, no supervisor found. Those kind of error messages, they are asking what does it mean? And if
Yeah,
they keep
so
getting that, what should they do?
well, so I think the problems or what the system is telling us, some of them are straightforward. Supervisor has not been assigned, which is a requirement. Main supervisor has not been assigned, which is a requirement. And so, as I said, you speak with those who are supposed to do that work. So, in terms of supervisor assignment, you speak with your coordinator or you speak with your HOD. You can also speak with your supervisor, so your supervisor will communicate to them accordingly so that they would do the assignment for you to submit. So I think that is fine. So
Submission terminated, no supervisor found.
yeah, so supervisor has not been assigned, and so that's why it cannot be seen. And
Okay.
for examination partly assigned, that is good enough that you have been able to submit your thesis, your supervisor has approved, and your coordinator or HOD have assigned the examiners to assess your thesis. And some of them have partly gone ahead. So when you are assigned three examiners and one person goes to go and undertake the work that he has been assigned to, then that is where you see partly. So anytime you see partly, it means some of the examiners are doing what they have been asked to do. And that is the progression of your thesis.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So please, if you have, let's say, an issue with your supervisor and all those things, so the reference is you go to your HOD and then they would handle that for you. So if you have a similar question or a complaint about your supervisor, you can then lower your hand so that the questions about the thesis deposition system, that's what we are concentrating on for today. All right. So Prince, you can ask your question. Yes, go ahead, Prince.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. It's similar to what my brother just asked. For some of us, we too were having a difficulty, and as we speak now, we are still at the chapters submission, which is no fault of ours. And looking at the time, we are doing 1 year to MSc, and looking at the time, what then happens to us?
Yes, thank you. So, Prince,
Thank you.
yes, thank you, Prince. So, Prince, like as I said, in terms of issues with your supervisor, you can move to the next level to speak with your coordinator and HOD to assist with the process. When you move to them to assist with the process and guidance, they may be able to guide you well, or just like our brother, get you a new supervisor, or better still, speak with your supervisor to speed up with your work or something. They may be able to guide you to find solutions to the work. In terms of the extension or in terms of the grace period, this is what clear university management have laid down as requirements. So that is a bit difficult to ask when it's more like your rent is due and you are saying that the government of Ghana should find a way to for you not to pay your rent. It's quite somehow difficult because of how it has to be done and who will be accountable for you not being paid or you are you should not pay. So that is very difficult to say. But I think when you meet your HOD, he or she may be able to guide you or speak with your supervisor to rectify the speed in which your work need to be done. But for the extension, kindly do well to start the process in terms of the application. Thank you very much.
All right, so there's someone saying that um he has done a request for extension, but the coordinator is saying that he hasn't assigned the supervisor to him in the system, and that the coordinator is having a problem assigning the supervisor. So who is responsible to resolve that issue for him?
Well, thank you. Uh, from as far as I speak, you will not be able to do an extension if your supervisor has not even been assigned, because the extension request is based on the progress report. If your supervisor don't write a progress report on your behalf to show how far you have done with your work, there cannot be an extension request from you. So that is one. And so normally, again, if you are, for you to see that, to see the progress of your extension, that is where you have the current state. When you look at the current state, you can see that created awaiting submission. And it is clear. It means that you have created it, you have not submitted it because you don't have a supervisor like your coordinator is saying. Now, in terms of your coordinator having challenges in having to assign you or not, again, the structure speaks. When the coordinator is also having an issue, the coordinator can also go down to the next level in terms of the coordinator himself speaking to the HOD or the coordinator him or herself going to graduate school. So the same way this structure, the student can move to the supervisor and go and speak to a colleague or a peer or speak to another staff or even move down to go and speak to the HOD or the coordinator. That is the same way the coordinator can also go and speak to the HOD or the coordinator can go and speak to graduate school or HOD also speaking to coordinator or HOD moving down to graduate school. And so I believe your coordinator would speak to graduate school or speak to HOD or speak to his colleagues and they will get this resolved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It seems we are repeating questions. So if you have an error message when you are doing something, just follow the error message. So especially someone, it says you must satisfy all registration requirements. It means you've not registered. That's why you can't. So make sure you do the registration. If you still cannot do registration, exam officer is there to help you. Before you Isaac, please ask your question.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my question is about error on image. As you were talking about the login on the TDS, I tried logging, resetting my account, and then it was successful. But when I came back to log in, it was giving me image error. The error there was image error. But when I go to the AIM app, I'm able to use the new password to log into the AIM app. So I wanted to find how best you can resolve that for me.
Yes, thank you very much. So for in terms of the reset of password. Now, when you reset your password, as I said earlier, if you want to really be sure that the password you use or the credentials you are using is okay for the system or for the system to take it up, the best test for me is the email. The best test, again, but the best test to check your credentials is your Microsoft email. For me, that is the best test for me. The best test, again, to check your credentials is your Microsoft email. If that works, I think you're about 90 or 100% sure that it will work for the system. Now, in terms of the image verification or image verification that you receive, it has to do with, again, the login. It starts with authentication, and then it will move to the image verification. And then subsequently, it can say it's been suspended. And so whenever you are getting an image verification, it is trying to do an authentication. It's trying to check your credentials with the system here and match it up. And so two things I will advise is to try again. Okay, try again in terms of if you're getting image verification. Try again. If you try 2-3 times and it doesn't change to system suspend, it will rather open because it is still doing an authentication. Thank you.
Okay, so someone is asking, how do I request for an extension? There is a video available. I think the link to the video will be shared with you.
It's also in the
Yes.
slides, and
So
I'm
when you
showing it
go
now.
to the e-learning Care University YouTube page, just search for Students Extension Request Process. The e-learning Care University YouTube page, search for Students Extension Request Process, and then you just watch that video for the request for an extension. I think someone was saying that let me check this quickly. People are also not clear about when to request for extension. So they want to be sure on the date because um, the final submission for the March graduation is 31st January. So they're asking if you still have to request for an extension before you do that submission, or you can still do the submission without the extension.
Okay, so thank you. So again, the extension is you are supposed to request for extension if you can envisage or you can see that in the new academic year we are going into, you will not be able to finish your work in the current academic year. Let me take it again. So last year was our old academic year. This year is our new academic year. When we were in last year, somewhere October, thereabout, and you realize that, well, you will not be able to complete in November or December, and you come to January or February, that is when you are supposed to request for the extension. When you do that, that makes you come into this new academic year, which is the year we are in now, and you can take that whole new academic year to finish your work, whether in January or February or March. You can take because you have paid for the whole academic year. It is just that the university decided to let you pay 1/3 of it, but it is the whole academic year. So it does not matter whether you want to graduate the March or you want to graduate the November. It is the whole academic year extension fee that you have paid. So you have to rather do your work fast so that you can submit in January and then be able to graduate in March. But let me say that there's also a timeline, there's a date to submit the final thesis. And as I mentioned earlier, if you are not, the final thesis needs to go through the process of having to download your reports from the examiners and having to liaise with your internal and having to do all the corrections and now submitting. Now, if you ask me, even if you submit your thesis, your initial thesis in January 31st, you and I can be sure that the thesis cannot be read by all the examiners in just 2 or 3 days and assess you. And so that is where the difficulty is if you submit your thesis 31st January and you want to graduate in March. But since you have done an extension for this whole academic year, my advice is that the best possible chance in your graduation will be the November graduation. Thank you.
Okay. So if you know your question has been answered, please just lower your hand so that we don't repeat questions. Time is fast spent. Vivian, you can ask your question. Vivian. Vivian,
Hello.
please ask. Yes,
Yes.
Vivian, we can hear
Good
you. Ask your question.
evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Yes, go ahead.
And thanks for the insightful presentation. So I want to find out if you have this feedback on the portal. It appears you have not completed your registration for the semester. You must satisfy registration requirements for 2025 academic year. But looking at my year, academic year is 2024 and not 2025, but this is the feedback I'm getting, and I'm being asked to contact support.js@knust.edu.gh. So I'd like to know how to resolve this, or how do I go about this?
Well, Vivian,
Yes.
when you say your academic year is not 2025 but 2024, I'm a bit lost. But let me say it this way. When did you start your program?
Last year, January 2024.
And
So it was,
January 2024. Do you
yes,
know the duration for your program?
yes,
Is it a
1 year.
1 year? 1 year,
Yes,
that is
1
12
year
months.
MSc.
That is
Yes,
12 months.
yes,
Yes. So Vivian, if your duration for your MSc is 12 months, it means that if you start in January, you are supposed to end in December, isn't it?
yes,
So it means that when you come to 2025, you are in an
yes.
extension.
Wow.
Vivian, I'm not saying it, you are saying it by your calculation you have given to me. Or
Okay, so then what if we started the MSc in January 2024? So because
yes, if
we
it's
finished,
12 months, if it's 12 months,
yes,
Vivian, if it's 12 months, if you start in January, you end in December.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking because we wrote our
Yes,
final exams in September,
yes.
and those
So,
that we
so
had supplementary wrote in November ending to 15th of December.
yes. So Vivian, it means that your academic year, you are done. You are done with your academic year 2024. And so this 2025 is a new academic year. And so you are going into an extension. If your program is 12 months, if your program is 15 months, then that's a different thing to talk about. If your program is 18 months, also that's a different thing to talk about. So it is program specific. If your program is
Oh,
15 months, then it means that you are not going to go into an extension, but rather you may have to do a registration for this academic year. Vivian, are you getting the scenario?
yes,
You started January 2024. If
yes.
the program is 12 months, it means that you are supposed to end in December 2024. And now you are in 2025. So it means you need an extension for this year. But if your
But
program is 15 months, then it means that you were supposed to end in somewhere March 2025. So now that you are still in 2025, you have not completed, but you are in another academic year. So you just need a registration of your your other months that are left. The same
okay,
applies to 18 months. The same applies to 2 years.
okay, Doc. So with the registration, am I to go to the AIMS app to do the registration?
No, so in your case, or in whether it is 12 months or 15 months, you have to contact your exams officer, and your exams
Okay.
officer will place you for you as I speak to you now. Since it's 12
Mm.
months, your exams officer will place you in grace period, and then you have to keep start your progress report and your extension. But for someone who is in 15 months, the program is 15 months or the program is 18 months, that person, the exams officer would have registered him or her the School of Graduate Studies thesis so that he or she can complete the 3 months that is left or the 6 months that is left.
Wow, Doc, but I want to find out how do you get to know if you are in 12 months, 15 or 18 months? Because
Your program structure. Your program structure, which was accredited, gives the duration of your program. And so it depends. Every program here has a duration. Some 1 year, which is 12 months, some 15 months, some 18 months, some 2 years, some 3 years, some 4 years. So it is program specific. And so you have to find out from your coordinators or HODs the number of months or the number of years your program was accredited for.
Okay. So another question online is, do external supervisors and internal supervisors have a deadline to submit the report?
Yes, graduate school of graduate studies have a deadline for all of them to submit their reports. And that is dependent on your degree, because the degree speaks to the novelty of the work.
Okay. Collins K. Sapon, quickly, your question quickly. Collins K. Sapon, quickly.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Doug. Um, Doug, I would like to use this opportunity to also thank you for the submission. I would always say that if this presentation was actually given to us before the thesis submission and all of that, probably most of us wouldn't have gone through some problems that, in fact, it took your intervention yesterday to get me to this point. So I would like to thank you very much for that as well. The one thing too that I also want to talk is in your when you started your presentation, you said that KNUST is aspiring to be one of, I mean, the best university in Africa, if I heard you right. And I think we, as gradually becoming an alumni, and the school authority will also have the course to, give a very interesting advice to our supervisors, because I would say most of the problems or the issue is caused, I would say, is caused by them, because they are the reason why we are all here. In fact, some of us would just not want to talk about what we've been through to get to this point. And I know most of my colleagues here have been in the university courses that they were just supposed to use 1 year or 2 years to do. They are still here, and they've been in their fifth year or even in their 6 years now. So please, kindly take this submission, and then the university and the management should also take this as a very serious issue, because KNUST can never become the first university in Africa if this issue should go on. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your submission.
Okay, thank you. Michael, quickly, Michael.
Okay, thank you. If you can hear me, my question is, if I haven't requested for any extension yet, can I request now and be sure to graduate in this year, November, if my supervisor approves my graduation?
Well, thank you very much, with the condition if the supervisor approves your submission. So yeah, that is the word. When you do when you are able to finish the research with your supervisor, then obviously it means that you can graduate. But you see, again, the School of Graduate Studies would bring the catalog of activities, or I think even last year's catalog of activities for this year, it's in it. I may have to check, but I've forgotten, there were a catalog of activities that was shared last year, if I remember correctly. And they brings the date for which one may have to submit their thesis and the deadline. In fact, they sit down to calculate with the timelines that they have given to the examiners and say that, well, if the maximum or minimum is supposed to be, let's say, 30 or 20 for an examiner to review the work, and the student is to submit probably in May or June, and the examiner is even taking the whole month, it means the report can come maybe July. And that should mean that the student can be able to do the viva, and then the student can be able to go and finish the final thesis and also submit. So they did all this calculation and they brought the catalog to inform us how to get the thesis done so that everyone can graduate peacefully. And so if you are to follow that catalog and you can make that calculation by yourself and know that, well, your submission should be this date, and you can adhere or comply by it and make sure that you submit your thesis, that is your initial thesis, either before that deadline, then obviously there's that high probability or chance that you can graduate in November. Thank you. Yeah, I think I've even found the catalog. Yes, this was the catalog. I don't know whether it's sharing. Can you see my slide?
Yes, it's sharing.
Yes, I think this was the catalog that was
Okay.
shared last year concerning, and I think 2025 was part of it, if I remember correctly. Yes, 2025 was part of it. So yeah, as I speak to you, I don't know whether they would bring a new catalog or not. But as and when they bring a new catalog, then it means that this is our guide. And that is what each and every one of us have to have in mind in terms of when the deadline it is for you to do your submission, for which it makes it possible. That is a high possibility that one may be able to graduate in November 2025. Why is November 2025? Yes, I think it's here. And so the deadline that was given is somewhere. Yeah, deadline for submitting corrected thesis, deadline for oral. Yes, so that is uh, June, right? June 2027. So yes, but as I speak with you, management, they may bring, I don't know, maybe they may bring a new catalog or they may still use this old catalog. But we'll still wait and see. But currently it is the March one that it's showing in our dashboard for now. Whether it will be revised or not, management will communicate accordingly.
All right. Portia, quickly. Portia.
Okay, please. Mine is quite fundamental. Regarding the Thesis Deposition platform. So the URL, when I try to open, it says that my password was wrong. But funny enough, I use same password to access AIM. I use same password to access. If even you said that we have 3 ways of resetting our password. So the second one, which was to use the ID.KNUSD thing, even if you are using that option, you key in your username and password to even get that open to kickstart the process. And there too is the same password I use. So that is where my contention is. I don't know if it is linked with you maybe going through the biometric and getting access to the Thesis Deposition, because the credentials I'm using is the same. I went to the UTIS last semester to get the password changed, and it works on any other platform I use except for this Thesis Deposition link.
Have you tried it on the Microsoft email?
That's the only thing I haven't tried.
Please try that. For me, like I keep saying, my best bet is with my test for me to confirm that really the credential I'm using is right is my email.
Please,
And
Doc, I don't
so
know if you can. So, how do I start that Microsoft Tech? Like, just 1 minute, take me through that 1 second.
your email, your student email.
Okay.
No, yeah, it's the student email. I mean, student
All
email.
right.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Martin, I don't know if you can give us your number. We won't bother you, or an email, or maybe a WhatsApp platform that we can send direct messages to you.
No,
A
so
convenient way that will not be.
well, so that is why I also started with the structure or the framework. So the framework is there for us to be able to manage institutional responsibilities. And so it is better off to always speak with supervisor or co-supervisors or peers first. If it has to do with reset of password, then I gave you three options. The college IT is there, and I think IDL students also have the technical IT that they can also speak to. And I think they had a WhatsApp number. I have actually forgotten. I may have to search. The IDL students have a technical IT that any technical issue they can send the message to. If you are not in IDL and you are in regular, it means that you can go to your college IT. If that fails, the UITS have a support system, and I think e-learning also has a support system. And I think maybe in the course of having to edit this video, all those numbers will be provided on the YouTube channel. So maybe check on that, and you can reach all those possible numbers, and your issues will be addressed accordingly. Thank you.
All right, Franklin, quickly. Franklin.
Thank you very much, Doc. Good evening to everyone. So I want to find out if I have been able to complete my thesis. My supervisor has cleared me, even though I wasn't able to secure an extension. Um, what what can I do to remedy this? What is there any particular problem that I will find myself in considering the idea that I want to graduate? And if there is, what do I have to do to correct that, please?
So thank you very much. Yes, you find issues. So you have to pay attention to this slide and ask yourself which of these, including my school fees, I have not been able to resolve. Then you tackle to resolve them. If you don't resolve any of these, you will not be able to submit. Thank you very much.
Okay. Gifty, you are next. Gifty. Gifty, are you there? Okay, Asari. Asari.
Hello, hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead, Asari.
Okay, so my question had to do with I have gone through all the process to unlock it, but I'm not receiving the OTP. I've tried so many times. But with the mail, I received it and then I was able to reset the password, but I'm not receiving the OTP. I wanted to find out if you can help with that.
Yeah, so as I said, the SMS is sent to the number that you used for your application. The number, when you are applying to the university, you used a phone number. That is where the SMS for the OTP is sent. If by some ways or some means you are not using that number again, you kindly have to again go to UITS to get that information updated, and then you'll be able to be receiving SMS for the system.
Okay. The next person, Samuel Abuaje. I think within the next 5 minutes, we are closing. Samuel Abuaje. Samuel Abuaje, please go ahead. Samuel. Emmanuel Mensah. Emmanuel Mensah, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, please. Good evening, everyone. Doc, please, my question is from the Thesis Deposition Management Portal. Hello, please, can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. When I log in fact, the login is very successful, but there's a problem when I click on the submit or update submission progress or whatever. When I load it, like I just see a completely blank window. Nothing loads, nothing happens. I'm not able to progress from there. So please, what can I do? Like when I click on the three bars, right, the drop down menu, thesis deposition. I click on it and select submit, check, update, submission, and nothing happens. So please, can you assist me? What should I do?
Are you saying this? Are you referring to this specific interface?
Yes. Please go backwards again. Go backwards.
Yeah.
The one that is circled in red. When I click on mine, nothing happens. Just a blank page.
Have you tried your connectivity to be sure?
Yes, please. The connectivity is very strong. That's what I'm using for the Zoom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't get this next page. The
Interface.
check. Yeah. I don't see this interface.
But you see the dashboard and everything.
Yes.
But when you
Yes.
just get to that side, it's blank.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll advise you just wait and try again, because it's not supposed to be like that. This interface
Okay.
is supposed to always show. So
Okay.
I advise you just wait a while and try again.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. So last person should be Ajwa Boamabunsu. Ajwa Boamabunsu, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Doc. First of all, thank you all for this presentation. My problem has to be with the student of MSc Accounting and Finance. Okay, ideal. They assigned our supervisors to us. That's 2024 January students. Our supervisor was assigned to us in September. Some of us were able to manage to talk to our supervisors for us to finish our thesis. Around December, we had to sacrifice our Christmas and do our in December. In this January, our supervisors have given us the go-ahead to submit our thesis on the portal. We've done that. And now they are saying that supervisors are not assigned. So on our portal, it's just being submitted. Some too, they can't even submit at all. Now, our supervisor is saying that we should contact the coordinator with a supervisor assignment. We've done that. And our coordinator said that we should just message him and just shouldn't be calling, nothing. I've messaged my coordinator, not even a response, okay, or something, I'll work on it or something, nothing. I don't know whether the message has even gone, whether he's received it or not, nothing. He's just telling us that we should wait for 2 whole weeks. When we send a message, we should wait for 2 weeks before we can test to find out the way forward. It is very frustrating. It is very frustrating because for me, I want to graduate in March. That's why I sacrificed my December Christmas to finish this thing out, hoping that if I submit it early, I will be able to pass through all this process. But now today is 14, today is 15, and nothing, not even an okay from the coordinator. It is very frustrating, very frustrating. To me, I think Kenya didn't treat us well.
Okay, Ajwa, thank you very much. Even though we have said time and time again that if you have a problem like that, if your supervisor is not responding, try and get in touch with the HOD, try and get in touch with the exams officer, and then they would help you out. So far as you are done with the work, I think there's a way they can help you out to get maybe a different supervisor, whatever they
No,
think is
this one is not
okay.
supervisor. It's our coordinator. The
Coordinator,
coordinator is
yes,
yes.
yes, yes. So
Ajua,
they'll have a way of sorting it out for you.
yes.
Yes.
So
So they
Ajua,
just yes, please go
you
ahead.
see that the level, you have the coordinator. I'm showing it again. You have the coordinator and you have the HOD. And so if the coordinator is unable to assign you, the HOD can also assign you. Okay, so you can also approach the HOD and the HOD will assign you accordingly. You are still within the same level of departmental level. So get in
Okay,
touch with the
so
HOD.
okay, so I want to ask with my own, am I supposed to pay for any extension or something? Because I don't understand this whole extension thing.
Ajua, in terms of the extension, as I mentioned earlier, it's very difficult, and because the concept is who will account for the for not paying, or what will someone use to justify, and would that be seen by auditors? Like you said, you are doing MSc accounting. I don't know whether you can assist me, whether the auditor coming from somewhere will be able to really understand that really you shouldn't pay or you should pay. So that will be very difficult to do. But the best way to get it done is to talk to the HOD so that your assignment will be done. And I believe since you are doing the accounting, you will understand auditors more than I do, and you know where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Okay, so I think one other question that keeps coming up is how do I get in touch with my exams officer? So how do I get in touch with exams officer or HOD or whoever coordinator? How do I get in touch with them?
Well, I think for IDL, all your timetables, there is a exams officer, there is a coordinator, and then there is a HOD on your timetable. If you look at your timetable, beneath it, their numbers are there, their emails are there. So you can see your exams officer from there if you are from IDL or you are doing any distance learning program. Just visit the IDL website, go to the site where you have the timetable, go to your program, download your timetable, and go to go beneath it. You see the name of the exams officer, you see his number, you see his email, you see the coordinator, you see his number, you see his email. Likewise with the HOD. For regular students, I mean, your coordinator meets you from time to time. Your HOD is always also in the office. Your exams officer also has his office. And so you can always visit that place. Thank you.
All right, one last person, Abaka Darling. Abaka Darling.
Okay, thank you.
I think he has dropped off. So, Doc, if you have any last words, then we close from there.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to say that again, management of KNUST and School of Graduate Studies, e-learning and GRASAC are doing their possible best for each and every one to have a smooth process of submission. And the whole system and the concept of the system was to ease or to bring ease to students, staffs, and management. That is to say, all users were supposed to get this system to make things easy for us. It is up to us as users to take advantage of any system, whether electronic or automation, given to us or given to us to make our work easy. And so I'll entreat every one of us as students to do his portion, read the message critically. For me, I see that reading of the message is giving you an information to act, and also taking advantage of your graduate school manual to know your requirements and know the frameworks. And in the system, always check your current state. Always check your current state. Thank you all for joining. I hope we had a wonderful session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adam. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. So what is going to happen is that we are going to keep the Zoom still opened. Then you can type your question in the chat. So just type your question in the chat. We will download the chat and then pick the key questions for Doc to handle. So I'm sure probably if there's another time we are going to do something like this, or maybe they will schedule something else. Maybe they'll create a flyer or something addressing the major issues that you are facing. So we will keep the chat open. Just type your question in there. We pick the questions from there and then we move ahead. We've spent a long time here. So we would like to thank you once again for joining. So this was brought to you by the KNUST Learning Center and then the KNUST School of Graduate Studies and GRASAG, the Graduate Students Association. All right, thank you very much for joining and have a good evening.